Alright, so sorry I missed my Sunday sermon, everybody. I did want to talk about a story that George Adair told me. George Adair, real, like true intent. He wanted to be a minister, and he went to seminary, studied, and there's two stories that I wanted to think. For some reason I remembered it in NYC or in New York City, but there was one thing that George told me when he got out. He was preaching on a corner, and of course some vagrant comes by, and they're easy prey because they don't have anything going on, and he preaches to the guy, and the vagrant just says to him, he says, "Man, I'm just trying to get something to eat, get some food in my belly." And that was like, George said that it was a sort of a an awakening for him, because as great and as savoury as that people make religion, it really means nothing. It's a very esoteric thing, especially in its purest sense. There has to be it's like that's the top of the pyramid stuff, Bottom of the pyramid is like, let's eat, let's get some shelter, let's have community, let's work together, that kind of thing. And then you're like, okay, and then the capstone is what's beyond that. So that was one thing that he said he had an epiphany about, and it really means a lot to me too. My buddy Barry, he was my boss in the Air Force, and I remember talking to him one time about that, or not about that, but just about religion in general. And he never came out and said he was an atheist, but he was like, you don't have to be Mormon to be a good person. And that was a big shocker for me, because growing up, this is Gilbert, by the way. This is Gilbert, Arizona, one of the safest towns in America. It used to be just cornfields out here, but now it's very developed. And this is the Shumway house. I used to see this every night, and I thought it was like a woman sleeping for some reason. It was like this shitty green light. And then this was the field. This used to be a field, of course, that they would spray all the crop duster would come and zoom. And this is my old neighborhood. And we knew we were home when we heard thump thump, and then thump thump thump, the second one. We knew we were home. Like on long trips, my dad would go, because Gilbert was used to be way out in the middle of nowhere. But up here on the left is my old house, which I think it's been flipped like 20 times since then. So, and I still dream about it. So, that's it. Looks much nicer than it did back then, but oh, Andy's selling. So here's Andy. This is Andy Adams. They put up a fence that they took down. There was a wall of cactus. There used to be a wall of cactus there. Now there's just ugly green gravel. And then Andy's room is there on the right. And the computer room is on the left. Is that Andy?
Yeah.
Wow, that's Andy. Jeez. So, I'm not going to say hi. He looked like three of me. But, yeah, this was my old neighborhood. So, it's much nicer now. It was just shitty Mormons with houses that smelled like pee, and like a really unorganized Mormon mafia get together. So I realized that the Mormons are a lot like the Travelers, where their unity together is more of their religion than the religion that they practice. And so, of course, typical Travelers, whether they're Scottish or Irish, are typically Catholic, but whatever, that doesn't make a difference. When again, the thing that really matters is the people around you, not some imaginary or invisible, or even just a God that never fucking shows up for church, So this used to be, there used to be a ditch right here, but with a bank and with skateboard. This used to be Gilbert High, and then they turned it into the junior high. So it was like a really oversized junior high. That was really nice to have just down the street from me. Could walk to school. And then on the other side of these houses to the right is Gilbert Elementary. And I used to walk to school as a kid. But, religion doesn't mean shit if you don't have food in your belly, and you don't have a safe place to stay. And the other one that I wanted to talk about, there's that one. Oh, there was something else by George. Oh yeah. So one of the first assignments that I assume assignment. I'm filling in a lot of the blanks that I have here. George, there's up in Page, Arizona. Page, Arizona was a little town started in order to support the workforce that created the Glen Canyon Dam. It's a hydroelectric thing that was done, I think, in the was it New Deal fallout. And that area is nothing but desert except for the oasis that is Lake Powell. And it's very beautiful, but there's a little U inside of town. Like you go in and there's like a U and then like there's nothing. It's like very small town. But in that little, at the top of the U, there's like 10 churches in a row. And George said he was at one of the churches and there was like an empty lot that one of those revival type of churches that's, mobile, was occupying and putting up their tent. And the church next door that had been established, was sort of making fun of them and telling, we're going to Nick and Tony's, by the way. Nick and Tony's, Vic decided to retire. And so I guess he's selling everything. And so we want to go support him and buy some good New York slices. Hey, it's very good. But, so the church that was established was making fun and sort of, God's going to test us sort of thing, and saying that, God will punish them for trying to, I guess, horn in on their territory or whatever. And what's funny is, or I should say ironic, is that the Revival Church, not that they had the same attitude, but they were like, when your church is functioning out of a tent, like that's pretty humble. And they were just sort of, God's always testing us sort of thing. Well, a big dust storm happened, and it's like, they call it a haboob, right? But in that area there's like just nothing surrounding, so it's like a huge dust storm. It looks like Mars. I think I talked about that one time about dust storms that used to be here in Gilbert. Back when there was no green, there wasn't trees. It was just farm. And there's no place to park because it's fucking full. But there's a spot. 15-minute parking. That's all we need, babe. Mm-hmm. So, will you go get it? Thank you. So there's a dust storm, and the dust storm blew the tent down or away or something like that. And the Revival tent people were out there the next day cleaning up and telling each other that God tests us, and can you get up after this? Can you survive? And the more established church was telling their people that, see, God punishes the wicked and all this kind of stuff. And George got to see both sides. But really, there was just an event. And how you feel about the event is up to you. The same thing with like any sort of sports game. Whatever. Lions versus Cowboys, right? If you're a Lions fan, that's, if they win, then you're like super happy. If you're a gay person that loves the Cowboys, then then whatever, you're just gay. And but really, there's just the event, and how you feel about it is up to you. And if you want to be gay, that's fine. You can be gay, and it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, dim boys, But so and that's one of the reasons why I'm completely detached to a lot of stuff that society is really invested in, like sports. Sports are dumb. They're a waste of time, waste of money. We could be using that, money and focus to, like, I don't know, create, housing for people and reliable jobs and job training and all kinds of stuff. So You know, robots. We could have robots by now if we didn't have both football and football. But we don't. And so it's your fault if you love those things. Stop it. There's, you know, other things like, you know, audio and things like that. There's a lot of really good things that happen, and as long as it's not excessive, and then you have to determine, okay, what is excessive. And that's why for a lot of guys that want